You have been listening to The Brain Health Show. The program you've listened to is a paid advertisement for Prevagen. The statements made in today's program have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Talk 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach, WKIS HD3 Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it. I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more, and it worked. But I'd still get cravings, especially on long car rides. To help me with that, I put a picture of my mother in my car. She died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes when I was only 16. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. That picture of my mother reminds me that I don't want to miss all the things my daughter is going to do in her life, including turning 17.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
AM 1470 WNN. Listen live at wwnnradio.com and like us on Facebook. Search AM 1470 WWNN.
AM 1470 with even more information you can use. Are you suffering with chronic pain? Tune in for No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. You'll learn non-invasive techniques that can help you get rid of your pain without the use of harmful drugs or surgery. That's No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein. Tuesday mornings at 11, right here on AM 1470 WNN, South Florida's Health and Wealth Network.
I have a passion for the environment. That's why I mountain bike. I love being in the woods, on near vertical trails. I relish the challenge when I can appreciate the best nature has to offer. So it was only natural that I would choose a career in the elements, where I can make a difference. That's why I serve in the United States Coast Guard. We monitor commercial vessels, making sure our ports and waterways are safe and clean from oil or other hazardous material. We patrol our fisheries and protect marine wildlife and their habitats. With all we do, it's about protecting America. This is a lot like mountain biking. It's always exciting to navigate through the next challenge.
Were you born ready to protect America, our environment, our resources, our people? Learn more at GoCoastGuard.com.
Sponsored by the United States Coast Guard in cooperation with the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
General, we've spotted a rip current on the Panama City Beach shoreline. Notify the local lifeguards. Get me all the info we have on rip currents ASAP.
Yes, sir. Rip currents are strong, narrow currents that flow away from the beach. They can form at any time of the day and any day of the year. They can be identified by the discolored and choppy water that they produce. For more information, visit www.floridadisaster.org.
Good work, Private. In transmission.
Brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
What you want to know. What you need to know. Talk 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Shub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
And welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm Dan Shub, your host, and tonight, like we do every week at this time, we're going to talk golf, we're going to talk travel, And you're going to learn a little bit about both, give you some tips, both for travel and golf, and have some great guests who will give some insight on both of those topics. And tonight, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We've got a great show, and we're going to be joined a little bit later by our guests. The first one up will be Jeff Carr. He's the national sales manager for a company called Swing Catalyst. And that's a product that is to help you learn golf and help instructors teach you, especially long distance. So that'll be quite interesting. And speaking of long distance, he's actually going to be calling in from Sweden, so that'll be fun. And a little bit later in the show, we're going to be joined by Mark Romig, and he's the president and CEO of the New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation. So a lot of stuff going on in New Orleans, one of my favorite places to go, and looking forward to hearing about what's going on over there. But first, at this time, what I always like to do is introduce my co-hosts, and tonight is no different. And first up, we've got my good buddy Jess Frank, and he's a PGA teaching professional. He plays golf on land and on sea, and or he actually seeks out golf courses wherever they may be. He's also the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy at Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club in Boca Raton. He specializes in on-course instruction with V1 video analysis, and Jess believes that every lesson and every swing is different. He likes to focus on the scoring part of your game, the short shots that are taught on the golf course, which instills plenty of confidence. Some of you may know him because he's worked at area country clubs like St. Andrews, Boca Lago, and Broken Sound. He loves to teach the game, has a passion for the game because golf can be challenging, but with Jess, it's made easy for you to learn and excel. Welcome, Jess.
Hello, Dan. Good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fine. I'm all choked up a little bit, but that's typical for me.
Absolutely.
But anyway, another beautiful day in Boca Raton, and it's great to have you here. We can look out the window and see what a great day it is, and wish we were still on the golf course.
It was pretty amazing day today. It was just gorgeous out, breezy. The wind blowing off the ocean, and again, we are lucky to be here, lucky to live in such a wonderful part of the United States, and it's getting summertime again, so it's getting a little warmer, and that means a little bit of golf. Rates will be going down here shortly for all of our local golf courses, so make it a little more affordable for people to get out and play a little bit more golf, which is always something we encourage around here on the Golf and Travel Show.
Whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else. And maybe a little bit later in the show, I think the two of us are going to talk about some of our favorite places to go to.
Yes, absolutely.
To vacation, summer vacations, and when you or I summer vacation, chances are there'll be a golf course involved somewhere, right?
There's always golf involved in our vacations. Golf and wine, I think. Those golf, wine, and food, I think, would be a perfect vacation. Really doesn't get much better.
You know what? I think you're right, and when we talk about New Orleans, we're going to talk about some food and drink as well, I'm sure, because that's one of my favorite places to eat. And I'm not a big drinker, but people who like to drink certainly like to do it there.
They just had I think the Zurich Classic there, a PGA Tour
stop. There's plenty of good golf courses there as well, so we could find out a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that Jerry, of course, is not with us, and we miss her.
We do.
She's still taking care of some business, and
absolutely.
Perhaps one day we'll have her back, whether she hosts or guests. She's always welcome in our studio.
We love her very much, and we're going to miss her.
But it doesn't mean we can't talk travel.
No, absolutely not. We are going to talk a lot of great places to go and visit, and just expand the horizon. So it's it's a big world out there, as we were talking about.
It is, and if you do any teaching, you got to fill us in. We still want to know how her progress is on the golf course. So don't forget that.
We're going to keep her going in the right direction. That's for sure.
And speaking of which, this is the time that we typically like to have a little bit of a tidbit of information, a pearl of wisdom from our golf guru right over here.
A little bit of value coming your way. So basically what we have today is when you get out on the golf course, you want to play the game. You don't want to think, you don't want to put too many thoughts in the machine, as they say, and you want to be able to basically get out and play it. It's a sport. It's a game. If you're thinking too much, you're gonna try to keep your head down, or you're gonna hit bad shots. When if you just focus on the target and making a balanced and a good rhythm swing, you're going to hit a lot of good shots. It's when you start thinking, okay, I got to have my arm here and my head down and got to put my weight over here and put this over here and then aim over there and then so if you can aim correctly, get yourself set up correctly and go swing through to a balanced finish, I mean that's going to be a huge advantage to you playing golf. So, and you're going to hit a lot of good shots that way.
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but when I go out on the golf course, I really don't want to think about anything. So.
You just want to have a cold one, you know, and a golf ball and a club and just swing and hit it.
This is true. You know, I occasionally have a swing thought, and I know that you're not supposed to have multiple swing thoughts, at least not too many.
One is good. One is good. Now, whether you're in the bunker, whether you're chipping or putting or hitting a full shot, I mean, you really want to focus on if one thing that you can do is just go through to a balanced finish. If you can finish on balance, and you look at all the best players in the world, the tour players out there, ladies or men, they always finish on balance. I mean, it really is a big part of the golf swing. And, you know, by just doing that, your swing's gonna fall in place because you can't think about where you are in your backswing or your downswing because it happens too quickly. So if you just swing through the ball and go to a balanced finish, you're usually gonna hit it pretty much in the direction that you're looking at.
It's interesting you say that because on rare occasion I'm so surprised when I have an unbalanced finish and it's a good shot. Yeah. But obviously I'm surprised, so it doesn't happen all the time. It's just dumb luck, I guess. When that happens.
No, I mean it does happen because I mean you can.
There's shots that you consider. You know, you jumped out of your shoes or something.
Yeah,
you
can compensate for it, and sometimes if you just depending on your swing, if you fall backwards and you create a little more width in your swing, that might help you. I mean there are certain things where you'll be able to do and not be perfectly on balance and still hit a good shot. But if you really want to play consistent golf, that's the way to go.
Another example of how important it is to be balanced is when you have those really weird and awkward lies and stances.
Yes.
You know, when one foot's up and one's down, or you're at the edge of a bunker or whatever.
Sure.
You have to get on your knees to hit. You know, you can see how difficult it is to execute those shots, and I guess it's because you're out of balance.
Right. It is. I mean, if you're balls way below your feet or above your feet, or like you said, if you're in a bunker with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's tough to hit those shots because you're trying to get the head of the club onto the golf ball, and when you do that, it's something that it takes good hand-eye coordination. And so if you are falling forward or falling backwards or just swinging too hard, not that you're swinging too fast, but swinging too hard, then you move yourself out of position, and so then the bottom of the swing can't get back into the back of the golf ball and where you need it to be. So.
And they don't sell anything at Edwin Watts to fix that?
Well, actually, it's interesting. We had
isn't that what everybody wants? I mean, I know that there are products that help, but everybody's looking for that quick fix. So what do they got?
Very interestingly is that we had Don Stanley, who's a Titleist Performance Institute trainer, and I've been working with him a little bit, and I found that by using one of those workout bands and putting the workout bands around your knees and or just above your knees and taking a stance and then pushing your knees out, and that actually makes you get in a better posture, more balance, and so what happens is you build a really solid base in your swing, and so when you do that, then your hips work correctly and your legs work correctly, and then you swing and get in a good shot. So.
And can I ask one other question? Mm-hmm. How many beers does it take before the balance becomes an issue?
Well, that's why people wait till after if they want to play good golf to drink.
Oh, okay.
But if you just want to have fun and go out there, by all means, partake.
This is one of the areas where it's going to have an effect on you.
Make sure you drink an even number of beers then, if you want to stay on balance. Because if you only drink one, then it's going to throw you off a little bit.
One for each side, one for each hand. Well, I mean, in golf years ago, didn't they say that that's the exercise that most of the pros were doing? They were doing the beer can curls.
Yes, that used to be the way to go on tour, but now these guys are in amazing shape. I mean, they're doing yoga and they're working out, and they have physical trainers with them everywhere they go, and physio labs, and so it's just amazing what goes on out on tour. It's an athletic game, it's an explosive game, and you got to be in shape.
And the key is balance.
Absolutely.
And I think when we come back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can be in balance. So what we're going to do is take a quick break, and we're going to be back with our first guest in just a couple of seconds, and we're going to talk with Jeff Carr and find out about Swing Catalyst and how you could be in balance. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. And we are back, and I think it's time for a quick message from one of our favorite sponsors, and I'll let you have the honors, Jeff.
Absolutely, and I was out there today teaching in a beautiful day at Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club, which is located in South Palm Beach. It's one of Boca Raton's best-kept secrets, with a par 72 championship and an executive golf course. Both courses are a challenge for all skill levels. With the only lighted driving range in Boca Raton, there's a putting green and a snack shop all open till 10 p.m., and the driving range is in beautiful condition right now. Discounted memberships available for only $60 and receive discounted rates and afternoon specials. There's a 9-hole Thursday night league for only $13 a player, and then you can call the pro shop at 561-451-1600, extension 101 for additional information. If you've never played Boca Dunes, come and see for yourself what a great course this is. Located at 1400 Country Club Drive in West Boca Raton, or check out their website at bocadunes.com. For tee times and information, call 561-451-1600, extension 101. Mention you heard about them right here on the Golf and Travel Radio Show and receive $10 off morning rates.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you got. Oh, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. It makes a difference if it's
And we are back, and not everybody has a swing like a PGA professional does, right?
Well, I mean, you can work on it.
But that's the whole point, and there are great golfers, and even great golfers obviously are never good enough. Everybody always wants to be better, and the best way is to practice, but you got to be practicing right.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you've got your teaching professional sitting right next to you, although we're not practicing our swing at this moment, but sometimes you're further away and you need other alternatives.
Yes, there are.
But what we want to find out is the best way for people to learn, whether they're nearby or far, and I think we could do that from finding out a little bit more about Swing Catalyst. And to find out more about it, we've got on the line Jeff Carr. Jeff, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Well, thank you for calling in, and obviously you got me, Dan Schub, and my co-host, Jess Frank, who is a PGA teaching pro, and obviously he's the kind of guy that you probably talk to every day, huh?
Well, exactly. That's pretty much my whole customer database is instructors from all over the world.
Okay. So typically this is the kind of product that you put in the hands of instructors, and obviously they know what to do with it, but the rest of our listeners who are not instructors, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the product and how it works?
Okay, well, basically the Swing Catalyst is a platform where we integrate video with the ball tracking from TrackMan, FlightScope, GC2 type thing, as well as a balance plate or a motion plate. And that brings it all together. It gives everything from the ground up. So what you're doing with your weight, where the weight is positioned during the swing, the ball tracking systems follow the ball and the club head data, and then you get your standard video swings and systems as you've always basically taken during your lessons.
Now, Jess, you know a little bit about these kinds of products, but in looking at some of the details, you've noticed some interesting differences. Why don't you ask Jeff about that?
I think what's really interesting is weight distribution and what you talk about, the center of pressure, and how that little ball follows the feet and the weight transfer. And so, there's a lot of professionals out there that they say, well, it only stays on the left foot, but you can see by your information there that there's definitely a little back and forth motion. And so, through your research, what have you found are the most common traits of the best players in the world and what they do?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I've been dealing with technologies for years, and we've always found this simple pattern that pretty much everybody does. Unfortunately, with center of pressure and the weight transfer, we're not really seeing an exact pattern. What we're seeing is a linear pattern, more right to left rather than flipping out onto the toes and back into the heel and things like we all grew up learning or being taught. So what we're seeing more is a linear, right to left. But what we're seeing is in the old days when you were teaching, say, I want you to get 80% onto one side and then at impact about 60 or 70 or whatever. And we're finding it can be anywhere between 15 and 20% more or less, just depending on the method and the ideas and the teacher's ideas. And really it's about feel too. So what we can do is we can quantify that. So if a player says, I feel like I'm at about 80%, turns out he's at 60%, that's okay. But then at least he can quantify, all right, so that's what 60% feels like rather than 80%.
And how the technology is just unbelievable now in teaching. I mean, and with TrackMan and Game Changer and what you have here. And I was at the PGA show, and so was Dan, and we saw all the new technology that's out there, FlightScope. I mean, do you see players and just amateur players? Because the majority of my teaching is done with the mid 20 to 30 handicap, who just wants to get better, who wants to hit it a little bit farther, who wants to be more consistent. And then, of course, I work with some juniors, but, definitely the majority of my students, I'm not teaching tour players. I'm teaching the average player. The weekend warriors. So how does this help somebody like them?
Well, basically the biggest problem with average golfers is their weight transfer isn't going in the right direction towards impact. It's usually going backwards,
right,
especially the higher handicappers. So when you have something that can actually show you immediate feedback that, look, your weight isn't going in the direction I asked you to put it in, they can get that and it clicks right away, and all of a sudden, boom, they're starting to move the weight in the right direction. It's because they say 80% of the world is visual learners, and this gives you the opportunity to see where your weight is during the entire swing.
Now, is it just visual and on the video screen, or are there any, sometimes there's sounds that they're beeping that sometimes that technology uses to...
So, biofeedback type thing. Yeah, we don't have that at the moment, but it is being integrated. It'll come in a later version.
So could you just have a student just work on the balance plate or the 3D motion and just have them improve their ball striking just based on what numbers come back from the weight transfer?
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's basically as long as you have a video camera of some sort, live feed camera hooked up, then you can actually see the different positions and so on. Without it, you're just kind of guessing, because if you didn't see where the body was in relationship to the ground, you wouldn't really know where the weight is, if you understand what I mean. So we always have to tie it to the video. So as long as video is running, then you'll be able to see the different positions, and he'll be able to stand there and take a set of position like top of backswing, look down and see where the weight is. Okay, I'm on my toes too much. Maybe I should get back on the heels a little bit more, and so on. So it is very feedback-wise, yeah.
And who are some of I saw Suzanne Pettersen you use this with? What kind of feedback do you get from the LPGA Tour and the PGA Tour?
Well, we were just at the Wells Fargo. The U.S. team was over there collecting data. I haven't heard a whole lot, except that they had a bunch of players on the system. I mean, Suzanne is a big fan of ours and actually a part owner of the company. So she's on it, and with all her coaches and things. And we're working with basically most of the top instructors.
And I follow a little bit of what Sean Foley talks about, and he talks a little bit about how hitting. Well, a few instructors like to talk about how you're going to hit shots or practice in your bare feet. And is this something that's similar to that, so you can feel it?
Absolutely. You would. I mean, the pressure plate has over 2,000 sensors. So if you push more on your little toe versus your big toe, or outside your right heel versus inside of your left heel or whatever, you see all that. Whereas an old-fashioned force plate only had 4 sensors, so you saw the different quadrants, upper right quadrant, lower left quadrant. These give down to minute details. With over 2,000 sensors, we can see everything.
Wow. And so that's pretty unbelievable with technology, and it will help speed up the learning process if it should. I mean, as an instructor, we've always taught really from the hips up, because that's pretty much what we could see. Right.
Now we can actually teach from the ground up. So everything that happens from the ground up, we can actually film, play back, work through together, come up with a solution.
I have a question. Do you use this product on any other sports besides golf?
It actually started in ski jumping, and it's a Norwegian company, and they saw this technology and said, ski jumping, that's pretty cool up in Norway, but realized that the market was pretty small, and one of the guys was a golfer, and all of a sudden that's how we really got into it. But yeah, we're looking into all sorts of different sports now, but the main focus for us right now is golf.
I only asked that because back in the day, many years ago, a guy I worked with, his name was Chris Welch, and he was one of the early guys to study biomechanics and biofeedback for athletes. He worked with the Atlanta Braves for a long time and then transitioned into golf. And I watched him in his studio, and I mean, he had sensors, on every single inch of his, athletes that he was working with, and they were getting feedback from literally from his toes and his feet on up, and again, that was like really early for that kind of stuff. That I'm probably talking about maybe 15 to 18 years ago. And I think he was one of the early researchers about stuff like that. So now it's kind of like all coming back to me. It's just kind of interesting, and knowing how hard he worked with the baseball players, and of course, being here in Florida, they would all come down for spring training, and that's when he would work with them. And it's the science of this is just fascinating. It's amazing how far it's come and what you guys do with it.
Well, the funny thing is like you said, 15, 20 years ago, these systems were $50,000, $100,000 each, and that's why nobody could get at them. And then they came down to a reasonable level. And then obviously, I mean, if you want to add on everything, it can still cost you $35,000 or $40,000, but a standard system doesn't have to cost you, an arm and a leg. So it becomes accessible to everybody.
All right. Now, so we're here in Florida right now. I mean, do you have any folks that are using this system yet down here?
We're talking with several right now. One big name that we're not allowed to say right this minute, but just watch this space. You'll be pleasantly surprised shortly.
And I have to assume that you're probably talking to some of the instructors at some of the major resorts, golf resorts, where people who are traveling can at least have an opportunity to try it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the ideal situation, is to get it into the academies that are well visited by not only the locals but the tourists as well. Some of the big name instructors we have: Andrew Rice, Bernie Najar in Baltimore, Scott Hamilton, who's a PGA Tour player. He's going to be installed in a couple of weeks. Kevin Weeks at Cog Hill, the biggest golf course in the Chicago area.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Isler, Chicago. Chris Como, Texas. Grant Waite, PGA Tour.
Cool, so you're getting around. Yeah. Well, obviously we've been looking at some of the information, the pictures and whatnot of the product, but I think it might be cool for the listeners to have an opportunity to do that too. So, of course, they can visit your website and get some more details and get more of a visual feeling for what it is that we're talking about, correct?
Exactly, yeah, www.swingcatalyst.com. We do have an app that's free, so that they can film and then start working with their instructors directly. An online platform as well, and that's free as well. So it's online.swingcatalyst.com, and then the app you can find on the App Store and the iPhone.
Very cool. Well, we're just about out of time, so we're going to have to go, but we really appreciate talking to you, learning a little bit more about this product, and I know that Jeff's just as fascinated.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty. I'm going to do some more research on this thing because it's awesome.
All right, well,
outstanding. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for letting us be a part of your show.
Great, thank you, Jeff. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our next guest in just a minute or two, but stay tuned for more of the Golf and Travel Show.
Cinderella story, out of nowhere, a former greenskeeper now about to become Masters champion.
It looks like I'm a wreck. It's in the hole!